What if the stories you heard as a kid weren't just stories? All over the world, those whispers in the dark have taken on a life of their own. From the weeping woman of Latin America to the slit-mouthed specter of Japan, we're diving into places where nightmares are born. I'm Kevin from Know Your Deets, and these are 10 surprising urban legends from around the world. Every culture has its own boogeyman, cautionary tales that blur the line between folklore and the frightening reality. These stories get passed down through generations, shifting and evolving, but always holding on to that core of fear that feels deeply universally human. Some of what we're covering today is pure supernatural horror. Some of it is tied to real unsolved history. All of it is genuinely unsettling. Let's get into it. Kuchisake-onna, Japan. We're starting in Japan, with a vengeful spirit known as Kuchisake-onna, the slit-mouthed woman. While slit-mouthed spirits appear in older Japanese folklore, the modern version of this legend exploded in the 1970s and caused a genuine widespread panic. The story goes that she was a woman whose mouth was cut from ear to ear, a jealous husband in some versions, a botched surgery or attack in others. Now her spirit walks the streets at night, hiding her wound behind a surgical mask, which in Japan is common enough that she blends right in. She approaches lone walkers with a single question. Am I beautiful? Say no, and she attacks you on the spot, usually with scissors. Say yes, and she removes her mask. How about now? There's no right answer. Say no again, and you meet your end. Say yes, and she cuts your mouth to match hers. The panic got so bad in the 70s that some schools began sending teachers to escort children home in groups. The only reported escape? Give her a confusing answer. You look average. Or shout pomade 3 times to buy just enough time to run. La Llorona, Mexico, Latin America. From Japan, we move to Latin America, where the cries of La Llorona, the weeping woman, have echoed for centuries. In the most widely known version, she drowned her own children after being betrayed, then took her own life. But death brought no peace. Cursed for what she did, she now wanders the earth forever, searching for the children she can never find. She appears near rivers and lakes, dressed in white, wailing, I miss Hyoji. Oh, my children. Her story is a warning against betrayal and harm to the innocent. But it's also something deeper. A symbol of grief, guilt, and the punishment that follows an unforgivable act. For generations, parents have used her story to keep children in line. The rule is simple. If you hear her crying, don't follow the sound. Being lured in by La Llorona means you don't come back. Wendigo, North America. Now we're heading into the frozen forests of North America, the traditional lands of the Algonquin peoples, to face the Wendigo. This is more than a monster. It's the spiritual embodiment of greed, gluttony, and one of the darkest taboos in human history, the consuming of human flesh. In many versions of the legend, the transformation begins when someone resorts to eating human flesh during a brutal winter. That one act is enough. A malevolent spirit takes hold, and the person is cursed with a hunger that only grows stronger the more it's fed. The Wendigo is described as a skeletal, towering beast with a heart of ice, and it can possess the living, driving them to madness. Within the communities that told this story, it served a vital purpose, a warning to hold your humanity even when survival demands the unthinkable. Today, the Wendigo has become a horror staple. Novels, TV shows, video games, though it's often stripped of its deep cultural roots. But the core idea remains just as unsettling. Some hunger should never, ever be fed. Jack the Ripper, England. Our next stop is the gaslit streets of Victorian London, 1888, where a legend was born not from folklore, but from something terrifyingly real. Jack the Ripper is arguably the most infamous serial killer in history, responsible for the murders of at least 5 women in Whitechapel. The brutality of the crimes was shocking enough, but it was the killer's ability to vanish completely into the London fog that turned the criminal into a myth. His identity has never been confirmed. Over the years, suspects have ranged from local doctors and butchers to members of the royal circle, none of it proven. That unresolved mystery is exactly what transformed Jack the Ripper into a boogeyman, a symbol of the darkness lurking just beneath the surface of a supposedly civilized society. The monster was real. The answers never came, and that somehow makes it worse. Bunnyman, Virginia, USA. From Victorian London to the suburbs of Fairfax County, Virginia, where a fur stranger legend took hold in the 1970s, the Bunnyman. The legend centers on a figure in a worn rabbit costume who haunts a remote overpass locals now call Bunnyman Bridge. The most popular version of the story claims an asylum patient escaped during a transfer bus crash and began skinning rabbits and hanging their carcasses from the bridge as a warning, with some versions escalating to human victims. The asylum story is folklore, but here's where it gets genuinely weird. 2 real police reports from 1970 actually describe a man in a bunny suit threatening people with an axe. No murders were ever linked to him, but those documented incidents gave the legend a foothold it's never lost. Today, the bridge draws thrill seekers from across the region, everyone hoping for a glimpse of the man in the tattered rabbit suit. A truly strange corner of American folklore. We're halfway through the world tour, and it only gets darker from here. If you're enjoying the ride, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more. Let's keep going. Yara-ma-yha-who, Australia. Australia's entry comes from Aboriginal folklore, and it lives in wild fig trees, the Yara-ma-yha-who. Picture a small red frog-like creature about 4 feet tall with a massive head and a wide toothless mouth. It doesn't chase its prey, it waits. When an unsuspecting traveler rests beneath its tree, the creature drops down and uses suckers on its hands and feet to drain their blood. But that's just the beginning. It then swallows the victim whole, drinks some water, and sleeps. When it wakes, it regurgitates its prey, alive but shorter, and with a reddish tint to their skin. Each time the cycle repeats, the person shrinks and reddens a little more, until eventually they become a Yara-ma-yha-who themselves. Like many of the stories on this list, it's told as a warning to children. Stay close, don't wander, and never rest under a fig tree alone. Madam Koi Koi, Nigeria. From the bush to the boarding school. In Nigeria and Ghana, students know to dread the sound of a single high heel clicking down the hallway after lights out. That's Madam Koi Koi, named for the koi koi sound her shoe makes on the tile. She's the ghost of a teacher, though her origin depends on who's telling the story. In one version, she was cruel and abusive, fired and killed in an accident on the way home, swearing revenge with her last breath. In another, the students themselves were responsible for her death. Either way, she's back, and she haunts dorms and bathrooms in the dead of night. Some schools report that the legend has sparked genuine scares. Students convinced they've heard her footsteps. Whether they did or didn't, that phantom clack-clack in the dark is enough to make anyone freeze. White Lady of Balete Drive, Philippines. Quezon City, Philippines. There's a tree-lined road called Balete Drive that taxi drivers have feared since the 1950s, and most won't travel it alone after dark. The legend? A woman in white with long dark hair haunts that specific stretch of road. The most common version involves a taxi driver picking up a lone female passenger late at night. the ride is completely silent. When the driver checks the rearview mirror, the back seat is empty. She's gone. In darker variations, she appears in the mirror without ever getting in, visible for just a second before vanishing. The legend ties her to a car accident on that road, making Balete Drive her permanent restless home. It's inspired films, ghost tours, and decades of late-night detours. Some roads just carry a reputation that never fades. Black Shuck, England. Back to England, but far from London this time, on the desolate coastline of East Anglia, where a different kind of legend has stalked the fog for centuries. Black Shuck is a monstrous ghostly dog as large as a calf, with burning red eyes, sometimes just one, blazing from the center of its face. Its name likely comes from skaka, an Old English word for demon. To see Black Shuck is to receive a death omen, your own or someone close to you. The most famous account dates to August 4th, 1577, when, according to a 16th century pamphlet, the creature reportedly burst into two churches during a storm, killing several people and leaving scorch marks behind. Modern experts suggest those marks are more likely old candle burns, but locals still point them out. Sightings of a massive spectral black dog still surface in East Anglian folklore today, proof that some legends refuse to stay buried. The Mothman, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Our final legend takes us to the quiet town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where, in the late 1960s, locals began reporting something extraordinary. A winged creature with glowing red eyes that seemed to stalk the night. They called it the Mothman. It wasn't a ghost or a man, but something in between. A towering dark figure that terrified anyone who crossed its path. Who or what was the Mothman? Accounts differed. Some said it was a mutant bird, others an alien or an omen sent to warn of a disaster. When the Silver Bridge collapsed in 1967, killing dozens, some locals reported sightings of the creature, whose appearance had foretold the tragedy. Skeptics point to a mass hysteria and misidentified animals, but believers argue the timing was too perfect to dismiss. In an age of Cold War anxiety and small-town unease, the Mothman gave shape to invisible fears, a watchful, winged shadow hovering just beyond the safety of the streetlights. From vengeful ghosts to ancient monsters to the very human fears that gave birth to all of them, these legends offer a window into what connects us across cultures and centuries. They're warnings, they're explanations for things we can't explain, and they're proof that a good, scary story has real staying power. So, which one's going to be keeping you up tonight? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more of the strange and mysterious, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and try to sleep well.